Hi everyone, it's Laura from Homeschooling with Classic Stories. This is part two of week 7. So these are the activities that we did to finish off week 7, the pie and the patty pan. So to start with, the start of the story is the animals exchanging letters. So for social studies this week, we chose to focus in on postal workers as community helpers. Now, wherever you live, your postal system probably works a little bit differently. So, the general advice that I would give you is to focus in on how is it that you get your mail? What does your mail look like? And who are these people and what are they doing? So, what we did for this, for our area, we focused in on our particular mail. I made sure he knew where our mailbox was. He is the one who went and got our mail every day this week. And then we had a look at the letters themselves. So we looked at the envelopes, we looked at stamps, we looked at where information is written. So he doesn't really understand addresses. Being able to know your own address is certainly a valuable skill. We're not really there yet, but if your child is there, this would be a great week to talk about learning your address so that you can write your address or at least verbally say it. But what we did was we looked at the sender receiver so that, because he can recognize some certain names. So that's what we had to look at for our actual envelopes, postal items. So then we had a look at mailboxes. There are some letterbox drops sort of around nearest to where we live. So we had a look at some of those. I pointed out a few post offices to him. There are a few post offices in our neighborhood. And of course, we did actually go into the post office and mailed a letter this week. It was unrelated to this, but I had him come with me. He usually comes with me to the post office, but this time we strongly talked about it, and we talked about it in the context of the dog and the cat sending letters to each other. So, like, the cat would have gone to this post office and would have handed her letter to the postal worker, and they would have weighed it, and she would have paid money, and then it would go to the dog. So, we had a look from that context of more closely how that would work. Um, we didn't do a lot of sort of the internal workings of postal services. I think that would be really cool, and we sort of intended to watch like Mr. Rogers behind the scenes type video about postal workers and sort of mail sorting. We just didn't really get to it this week. If you have time, right, some sort of like kids explanation of the post office type video would be great. We just didn't really have time for it this week. So that's what we did for social studies was whenever there was postal or letter based stuff involved, we had to talk about it. So the next thing that we did was this week we worked on positional language. This was a kind of a language heavy week in general. But basically, what we did is in the story, there's a real disconnect because there's an above oven and a below oven. And choosing which oven to put your pie in is how you ended up with a certain pie. So we talked about the words above and below. We talked about the words in and out. And we also talked about the words left and right. Those weren't really in the story, but I did want to make sure that I kind of got those in. So to talk about positional words, what we did this week, I intended originally to just use like a toy, but with Halloween coming, we actually had access to handy glow sticks. So I got some glow sticks and basically we hid them around the house and we talked about where these items were. Because they glow, they were fantastic because you could always see them. And so it was easy to use it as kind of like a beacon marker. So just as an example, I put this on top of our television and I said, "Where is it?" And he had to choose the words above or below. So he said it was above the TV and below the clock, and then left and right. So it's to the left of the bookshelf and to the right of the chair. And then we also did in and out. Um, this was not relevant to the example I just used, but I was hiding it inside of things when we did in and out. So, like, it's inside the drawer, it's outside of the cabinet, that sort of thing. So, we did practice some words using the glow sticks as the kind of beacon for that. This was a lot of fun. I think more importantly, this was just kind of a lot of fun for both my 4.5-year-old and my 2.5-year-old to just sort of run around and test this out in different dark rooms. They had a lot of fun turning the lights off in a variety of rooms and making pillow forts and then like seeing the glow stick in there. So if you have never done glow sticks with your child before, this was a surprisingly big deal at our house, and kept them very friendly. So this was actually a very positive item. All right, the last thing for the week. Since we talked about postal workers, we also did some letter writing. This was not that serious, so don't worry. This is what your worksheet looks like for this week. Again, as always, you can get it down below. Um, all that we did was we wrote a letter, but not really. Um, Basically, what we did is I have a blank up at the top for a word box. That's for you to write in, not your child. So a word box, and then it's just a format 3 sentence easy letter. So, dear person's name, I hope you are having a nice whatever it is. So I actually gave him some prompts here. So having a nice day, a nice week, a nice holiday. You'll see what he said. It was none of the things that I recommended. I something you. I love you. I miss you. I like you. Whatever it is, but some sort of verb here. Would you like to something soon? So I also gave him prompts here. This one he didn't need prompts on. I something you. But would you like to? Um, I kind of left that open, but I did give him some ideas of like things that he regularly does with this person. So, and then love and the person's name. So this is what your basic form letter looks like, and I'll show you how this looked and how it was actually done. So first thing you'll notice is that it's written in pen. I do really recommend if you are a heavy crayon and marker household like we are, I do recommend that you switch over to something that feels adult, right? You're writing a letter. So we switched over to something that felt adult, which at our house means writing in pen. My son almost never writes in pen, um, so this was kind of a fun thing for him to do, I guess. So basically, what we did was I asked him to pick a person he wanted to write to my friend Rosie. And so I wrote the word Rosie in the word box. So I said the letters as I wrote them. So I also used a pen. So Rosie. And then down here, he just copied it. So Rosie. And then the next thing, again, as I mentioned before, I gave him some prompts and he chose nothing normal. He chose Saturday. So I went with it and I wrote the word Saturday up in my word box and he just copied it down below, knowing that this was the word Saturday. He chose to say, I love you. And so again, I just wrote it in the word box and he copied it down. Would you like to play games? Was his choice. This is not what I thought he would choose, but I gave it to him anyway. So play games. And so he copied that down. You see that he goes down below. I think that it is more important to know that you can continue onto other lines um, than it is to really focus on, oh, he needs to erase this and make it smaller. Pick your battles, I guess, whatever you feel is important in your house. And then finally, I made sure that he wrote his name to go down at the bottom. So he can write his name on his own, but because I had already been writing words in the word box, he did want me to write it in the word box, and then he wrote his name at the bottom, but he can write his name. But anyway, so some things that you'll notice, depending on where your child is in their letter writing, this is going to be copy work. That's the point of having a word box, is this is definitely copy work. Your child is not reading this. They are not creative spelling, which is a great skill. This is just straight up copy work. The purpose of this is for them to feel like they are participating in writing a letter. and then also to get some practice in letter shapes and writing. So this is not really the skill that maybe you might want it to be. If you do want your child to engage in creative spelling for this, I am not opposed to creative spelling. It's just my son is not there. Go ahead and give that a try. There's no reason that you have to use the word box at all. So if you feel like your child is ready for creative spelling, no problem. Have them sound it out and write the words however they feel to write them. Something else that you'll notice about this worksheet is I kind of debated putting in lines like uh, to direct where he was writing. But the truth is because I want him to practice letters, it's more important to me that he's getting the right shape than it is that he's getting the right size. And I think you can definitely see that in some of these letters. Even in his name, he still has some, so like the R and the E comparatively, the sizing is not correct because it's more important to me that he focuses on getting the shape correct rather than the size. The size is easy to modify once you get the shape correct. So that's what we did for this week. I did give him the option to color the cat. He didn't want to, so you are welcome to do that. I also gave him the option to mail the letter. He did not want to do that. He wants to give this to her on Saturday, which I guess is why he chose the word Saturday. We did not do this on a Saturday. But anyway, we are seeing her this weekend, so I guess he's going to give it to her then. He did not want to mail it. If you do want to mail it, this would be a cute thing to continue your postal worker study. So, anyway, that is it for this week, and I will see you next time for week 8. Have a nice week.